freedom, freedom over fame, freedom over cycle stays the same.
Welcome. First of all, welcome. This is Unsolicited Perspectives, and I'm your host, Bruce Anthony. Thank you for listening and watching wherever you get your podcasts and video podcasts. Subscribe, share, like, comment, and rate us. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at unsolicited_perspectives. You can find us on Twitter and TikTok at unsolicited_PER. Watch us live. Now, watch us live every Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Twitch and YouTube. Our audience continues to grow with each and every episode, and I humbly thank you.
On today's episode is the Sibling Happy Hour. I'm with my sis, Jay. We're going to be talking about dating, more specifically men and women and what's going on with all that. But first things first. What's up, sis?
What up?
How you feeling today?
I'm feeling fantastic. As you know, Black History Month is over.
Yeah, it's over.
Women's History Month has begun.
Is it Women's History Month or is it just Women's Month?
I don't know that it matters. It's a month about women. Past, present, future. The point is, if you're a Black woman,
Right.
the beginning of the year is just you're just being celebrated.
Well,
Left and right.
well.
And then you get, shit on the rest of the year.
Yeah, well, y'all get like, what is it? How many days in March? 31?
30 days past September, April, June, and November, all the rest of 31. Yes.
Okay. You know what made me think about that as soon as you said that? When April messed up on Parks and Rec.
I never watched that show.
What?
I know.
Oh, Jay, you got to watch that show. That show is hilarious.
I know.
You know what else is hilarious? Now, we've already seen this movie, but I was just randomly, a scene popped up on my Instagram yesterday. And I was like, I forgot how funny this movie is. And then I started watching clips of the movie on YouTube. Class act.
Hilarious film.
No, it's even more hilarious than what we thought it was from 30 years ago.
Well, now we're older, we get more of the jokes.
Yes, and it's hilarious. That I'm going to take the time this weekend to watch it.
You should. It's great. I think I've watched Class Act recently. Is it on Tubi?
Probably is.
It's probably on Tubi.
Yeah, it's probably on Tubi.
That's where all our stuff is. Tubi and oddly enough, HBO Max. There's a lot of our stuff. I was watching Last Dragon the other night.
They got all the Black shows too. They got Wayans Brothers Living Single, Martin. They got all of them.
HBO Max is really like showing up and showing out for us. I was watching Last Dragon, and it's still great, still fantastic as always.
Leroy,
yeah. You warmed up yet?
All right, so let's get to the topics. Dating. So you sent me an article. It's an article on The Hill, thehill.com, and the headline of the article reads, "Most young men are single, most young women are not." And it gives a bunch of different examples and reasons why women are not as single as men are, despite the fact that there are more women in the population than there are men. And as I was reading it, and I was like, yo, this is really, really fascinating. One of the first things that they said was that women aren't dating down. And I can kind of identify with that because I don't date down. Like if a woman ain't got nothing going on with her life, or is at least doing something in her career, I ain't messing with her. Because I'm not gonna keep somebody. I'm kind of looking for somebody to keep me, but that's neither here nor there.
I mean, you and me both,
right? I think everybody. I have a friend. She's brilliant, all types of degrees, works for herself, makes boatloads of money. He says, I'm just waiting for that billionaire to come and scoop me up so I don't ever have to
Mm.
work again. I was like, you're a strong, independent woman. Don't you? No,
Yep.
I don't want to
No,
work no more.
no. I think everybody in a heartbeat will regress to our childhood selves and just let ourselves be taken care of. Hands down. I don't know. Listen, I don't know anybody who, given a real opportunity to be a sugar baby, wouldn't do it.
Look, hey, look, Miss Future, I'll take your last name. I don't care. If you out there and you got money, holla at me. You know what though? That's not true. Because I dated somebody, was with her. She
Mhm.
made close to $500,000 a year. I could have been kept. I could have stayed
Yeah,
up in the house because her ex-husband was a no good nothing and didn't do nothing.
yeah,
I
yeah.
could have stayed up in the house.
Been a
Things
house
just didn't
husband.
work out because she got on my nerves. If you're
Yeah, I mean,
listening,
I
I'm
think at the
sorry.
end of the day, if you're to be rich, but also don't get on my nerves. Two
But
things.
you can't have everything.
Yeah, listen, you can dream. Shoot for the moon, you'll land among the stars. That's my motto in life. I have only ever dated broke people, and let me tell you something, it's not great.
No, it ain't.
It's not great.
It
And
ain't
it's
great.
not, and I'm not saying I think a lot of what's behind not dating down, I wouldn't necessarily say it's not dating down. It's more about when people don't fit in their mind the ideal of what it means to be a successful person. They
Hmm.
are miserable. They
Mhm.
are miserable human beings. I don't know if you ever dated somebody broke, but they are
Yeah.
miserable. They are so miserable. They complain about everything. They don't, it's always the most broke people that worried about gold diggers. And I'm like,
Nobody wants you. Ain't got no money.
nobody's digging in your yard, sir. No one.
So
And and so it's more about dating someone where you're kind of equally yoked so that you don't have that
dependence. Nobody's
dep-
dependent upon each other.
and the person's not miserable.
Well,
Which
I
is
mean, but a person can have money and still be miserable.
true. But
I
at least
mean,
they're not miserable about that.
well, so
I mean,
people.
we're all
Look,
miserable.
I know people who make and I we live in DC, so people out here make the median income. The median income where I live is 150,000. The median
Mhm.
income in DC, depending on which district in DC, is pretty high. So when I say these
Yeah.
numbers, don't be out here judging me. I'm not being an elitist, but I know people who make $50,000 a year,
Mhm.
and I know people that make $150,000 a year. And $150,000 a year person is always broke, and the $50,000 a year person is always going on trips and living life. And it's really about how you manage your money. That's
Yeah.
success, right? Like,
Right. It's about fitting the ideal in your mind of what a successful person is. So
mhm,
it's not necessarily about the number on your bank account. It's not necessarily about how much you get paid. It's about, do you feel like you are successful? Do you
mhm,
feel like you're living up to your potential? Do you feel like you've self-actualized? I mean, most of us haven't, you know, most of us haven't. But I mean, am I where I want to be financially? No. But at the same time, I'm doing all right.
yeah,
So I'm not
right.
miserable
Mhm,
about my finances. I feel by and large pretty successful.
mhm,
It's the people who don't feel successful
mhm.
that are miserable. We're all miserable. Let's again, we're gonna start there. We all miserable about something.
About something, okay.
About
But by and
something.
large, I'm not going to generalize and say people are miserable. I think people
We
can be
are.
miserable about something. We tend to say that because anxiety runs in our family. Not to put our
Mhm.
business out there, but I already did. Our business is out there.
Ex
We talked about anxiety
Anxiety,
before.
depression,
Right.
narcissism,
Woo!
all of it,
All of them. Just
all the
just to point it
things.
out, I have two out of three of those things. One of them I absolutely don't have.
Yeah.
I am vain, but I'm not a narcissist. I will say that.
No, I don't try to manipulate people
No. Well, we can be
in that way.
manipulative.
Yeah, but it's not a core part of who I am
No,
and
not
how I
core part.
interact with people. No.
Right. But like, so back to this dating down thing. In the article, it talked about how, you know, raw numbers, women out there getting degrees at a higher rate than men are right now.
Yes.
Women are out there being educated.
60% of the bachelor degrees right now are going to women.
So a lot of that is when they don't want to date down, it's intelligence as well. And not to equate
Yeah.
education with intelligence, but sometimes those things do go hand in hand. They want to be able to have the old days of that man coming home from the long day of work and that woman just being at home all day tending to the kids and cooking and them not really having any type of conversation. Women are like, that is not stimulating to me. I want to actually have a conversation and I want to hear what you have to say. We'll get into the emotional aspect of that later, but women want that type of that connection of
Mhm.
talk to me. And if you ain't got shit to say, oh, this is the Sibling Happy Hour. I'm cussing. My bad. This ain't this.
I did it earlier so that we get one apiece. Let's make a new rule. We get one apiece.
One apiece per episode. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
But I forgot my point. I forgot what I was saying now.
You were talking about how women are not satisfied with just when you don't have anything to say, when there's not the intelligent, and I'll give you a good example of this. I was dating a man, this was years ago. We're sitting down watching TV, we're watching Jeopardy, and I'm answering the questions.
Oh, just like
and
mom.
he asked me, is this a rerun? Now, instead of just, first of all, Jeopardy don't have reruns. It's a live game show.
No, they have reruns.
They will rerun, but the fact that you think I watch so much Jeopardy that I remember the answers of a prior show,
right,
as opposed to just knowing the answers.
Right.
But I have dated people who they just have a different kind of knowledge from mine. It's just we have different life experiences. It's a different kind of knowledge. But again, it goes back to how that person feels about their own intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I went to college. I got some common sense and I got some academic sense. I'm a fairly intelligent person. But just because I have a certain kind of knowledge doesn't mean that the kind of knowledge that the other person has isn't just as valuable. But it's, again, about that person's mindset. Do you feel intelligent or do you feel small around me? I can't help you if it's the latter. I can't help you.
Coming from a male perspective, when I date women, I try to date women, and lately, any woman that I've ever labeled as my girlfriend, right? They're smarter than I am, or unless I designate, oh, you're smarter than I am, or as smart, right? That's important to me. That's attractive to me. I actually like it when a woman is actually smarter than me, and I was like, oh, I can learn something from you. Because in most scenarios, this is generalizing and just saying the women that I've dated, I think that I'm extremely street smart. That I can see different angles. Well, common sense and street smart are close to the same thing, but they're not exactly the same thing, right?
Right.
You can have common sense and you can also have street smarts. I think I have an abundance of both. Now, when it comes to reading them books, reading and comprehension, I get by. But the rest of that stuff, the rest of that stuff, like I have a unsolicited perspective, and it's a perspective that people often find coming from an intelligent thought process. So I can be engaging, even though technically you're book smarter than I am. But the fact that you know things that I don't know, the last girl that I dated, she was very well traveled. And so I was ignorant. I'm completely ignorant to anything as far as being to Europe or Africa or Asia. Like, and I'm never going to go to Australia, so that's never going to happen.
No, everything is too big.
And they got flying, they got raining spiders. Like, look, I'm not going there. But the point of the matter is, it was like she would say things to me about going to visit different countries in those continents, and I would just be like, "Well, yeah, I've never been there. I've only been to the Caribbean." Well, do you want to go? I used to say I didn't want to go because I thought the plane ride was too long. Until I flew to Hawaii.
Like the Middle Passage.
Yeah. No, that wasn't the Middle Passage. That wasn't the reason. I thought just too long. And I don't like being on planes for more than 3 hours, right? But I got past that flying to Hawaii because the flight to Hawaii is half your life. but
truly,
it's the longest flight known to man. It's quicker to get to the moon. It's quicker to get to the moon than it is to the Hawaii. I'm not being serious.
You can go circle the moon, come back, go get something to eat, and somebody still is on their way to Hawaii.
Right. Remember when Superman, the original movie, flew around the Earth and made the Earth spin backwards? Yeah, he still, that whole time he was flying around the Earth, he still didn't hit Hawaii. Hawaii is not on Earth. Earth is somewhere out in the Milky Way. But the point of the matter is like, I like dating somebody that's smarter than me. I'm also very secure in myself. Like, I don't really get to I know I bring something to the table. And if you are smarter than me, cool. That means I'm going to learn something. But this article goes on to lead and talk about how some men are just insecure about the way things are now because the power dynamics in their eyes are switching. And we see that anytime somebody says anything negative, a man says anything negative about the Me Too movement, I'm like, yo, shut the hell up. like you had all this power that you didn't even realize that you had it. It's just naturally given to you because you're a male. And now women are not even on equal footing yet as far as the power structures, let's just say in this country, are not even equal footing yet. But because they're inching closer to you, you got an issue with it.
I just think that it's so interesting that they had all of this power in society, like you said, and look what you did with it. You used it to terrorize people.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's part of what
like you used it to terrorize your secretaries and your wives.
Well, they're not secretaries anymore. They're executive assistants. Come on now,
back then we're talking about Mad Men era. That's what in my mind. That's what I'm thinking.
I never watched Mad Men, but
neither did I.
But I know that there was a female character that they highly respected. But nevertheless, this article specifically is talking about young men in their 20s, young people in their 20s. And
I believe 18 to 29 is what they were looking at.
And I'm looking at, if you're 18 to 29, let's go with the younger version. That means you're 18. Let's say your parents had you when they were 30. So your parents are like 48. It's slightly older than me. It means they were born in the 70s and really, really grew up in the late 80s, early 90s. And that was still around the time. Yeah, that's still around the time where men and women had certain roles that were traditionally identified as men roles and women roles, right? And
yeah, this idea of like gender equity, this is very, in the sense that we're talking about it now, this is very new. Like, this is like the last 15 years that we're talking about, 15, 20 years that we're talking about. I think you started to see
the rise of it in the 90s.
Yeah, for sure. But I think in terms of what that article was talking about, which of course this article is sort of like an offshoot of that Psychology Today article by Dr. Greg Matos that had everybody in the show cold. And it was basically what's behind the rise of lonely men. And one of the things that he talks about, one of the 3 things that he identifies, I don't agree with the 3 things he identifies.
But throw them all out. Let's talk about them.
Well, he says it's due to 3 things, reason why men are lonely. 1, dating apps. 2, the change in relationship standards, that women have higher standards now for their partners.
So that's what we've been talking about.
Yeah, so that was what I was going to talk about next. But then there's also these skill deficits, these emotional skill deficits, which I think you wanted to talk about
Yeah, I
after
want to talk
this.
about that later. Yeah.
But a lot of women now are ashamed of romance. They're just saying, you know what? I rather, like this article says, I'd rather just go to brunch with my friends than another bad date.
Hmm.
So it's this insecurity within some men, not all men obviously, but some men, and then it's also women saying I don't want to do this anymore.
Hmm.
I tried, I'm done, I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
um and they're really moving more in favor of building up these same sex, these female friendships and these female bonds. I mean, hell, I'm at the end of this month, I'm going on a girls trip. Like it's
Where you going this time? You just went on a girls' trip.
I'm going to Cartagena. It's a good friend of mine's 40th. And what?
You're not going to believe this.
Oh no.
Detour. For my birthday, I was going to choose between Cartagena or Cartagena, as Fat Joe would say,
Hmm.
and New Orleans. I know those are two random things, but two places that I definitely wanted to go. And I was leading towards Cartagena because New Orleans in July seems like that would be hell.
I'm gonna need us to know to normalize Kenya, Cartagena. That
Well,
G is pronounced.
I'm following what Fat Joe says. And he was
Fat
dying
Joe's Puerto
Cartagena.
Rican. You don't.
Well, well, but go ahead. So you're taking a girls' trip down there, but finish what you were
Yeah.
saying.
Um. So I think it's less about the dating apps. I don't agree with that one. That's the one I don't agree with. What
I
I
would
agree
disagree
with,
with you on that one. I think dating apps have that goes more to my social media argument. I'm including dating apps in that and porn, but that's later. That's a little tease for later in the episode.
right. My three is yes, there are emotional skill deficits.
Hmm.
Yes, relationship standards are changing, but also we have to talk about society's construction of manhood and how that and the patriarchy and how that is negatively impacting men, not just women, but how it's negatively impacting men. Society has told men or given men the um, signal that your worth is bound up in how much you can provide. Your worth
Hmm.
is bound up in things that women no longer value in relationships. We
Because they
don't
can get it
need,
on their own.
we
Yeah.
can get those things on our own.
Hmm.
So now we're valuing having a partner, but that was never the thing you all were told was important by society because women didn't have a voice back then.
True.
Women weren't your equal back then
True.
in society. And so the idea of you being a good partner, a good communicator, being emotionally available, these were not things that you all were told were important.
Nope. All we
And
had to do was come home with some flowers or some candy or some chocolate.
right.
Chocolate is candy, but you know what I mean. And that
Yeah.
would do the trick.
And so you have a lot of men, I would say mostly men like my age, like in their 30s, that are looking at their grandparents who were married for however hell many years. Yeah, they
Also,
were
let's point out the grandparents were freaking miserable. Like they was just
miserable.
together. They was just
Our
together because they couldn't
grandparents,
find a
our grandma was in that front room, grandpa was in that back room, and I swear I never saw them in the same space at the same time. They did not
wow. I never
interact.
thought about it like that.
Yes, they did not interact. I
And
mean,
then our
dad,
other grandparents, they divorced
they divorced
when
and
we
they
were
fought every
yeah,
holiday.
every holiday. Every holiday.
Okay. But you're
Yeah.
looking at a situation where you have a woman with no options.
Hmm.
She had no options. And now we
Hmm.
do have options. And so we're not going to stay in situations that don't serve us any longer. And the patriarchy is what is keeping men single. These really toxic ideas about what should be important to a man and what really defines manhood, what defines masculinity. This idea that showing your emotions isn't manly unless that emotion is anger.
Well, that's a different topic that I want to get to later. As far
Mhm.
as we can get to that next. That could be a good segue into that. But
Yeah.
I'm not going to. I think I actually agree with the article. It's a combination of all three of those things that he's saying,
Yeah.
and the quiet part needs to be said out loud. Uh, This article specifically talking about those 18 to 29-year-olds. A lot of them are single, and they
Mhm.
do say that there's a lower sex rate for as compared to generations prior,
Mhm.
for that generation of 18 to 29, as opposed to, let's say, when my generation was 18 to 29, that this generation that's 18 to 29 now is having sex less. And some of those numbers were attributed to the pandemic, and
Mhm.
either you was having a lot of sex during the pandemic or you wasn't having none. It depends on
You
what
either
state you
came
was
out with
in,
a
what city,
baby
right?
or
Or
you
you
came out with
didn't, right?
one real strong arm.
But I would say another. I just got it. I was focused on my point and missed the joke. You a fool. Oh,
Two
oh,
options.
and I'll get to that strong arm later. But a lot of men are choosing to be single, but that doesn't mean that they're not dating.
Right.
A lot of men are dating. They just like, I ain't gonna be tied down.
Mhm.
And now we could segue into social media
But I would ask those guys that have that kind of mentality
of dating.
of dating and I don't want to be tied down. Ask some guys in their 40s and 50s who are still single
You mean like me?
how well that works out.
Look, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm single and I'm in my 40s. I'm in my young
Yeah.
40s, by the way, people. Young 40s. I ain't
There's
even in
no
my mid
that's
40s.
an oxymoron. There's no young 40s.
Early 40s. And it
Mhm.
is young 40. I'm a young 40. My knees don't hurt that much. Anyway. I I'm a single man in his 40s. It is absolutely by choice though. Like
Yeah.
if I wanted to get tied down, I could get tied down tomorrow. And
Yeah.
that's not your boy bragging. That's just stating facts. I
Yeah.
choose not to because a lot of these people out here are self-absorbed. But that goes into another conversation. I want to focus right now on social media.
Mhm.
I am that generation where social media really became a thing. It started with MySpace,
Yeah.
Facebook, then Instagram came in there. You had Snapchat. Snapchat was a dangerous game.
Mhm.
Twitter was before. I think Twitter was before Instagram
Yeah.
and Snapchat. And now you got TikTok, right? And I know you can slide in the DMs on TikTok.
Mhm.
I was of that generation where when MySpace came out, it was like, oh, so I can meet women in other areas because the women that you could meet was confined to your area. It's wherever you were.
Right.
It was in your college. If you was at the college, you was at your college, or if it wasn't at your college, it was in your town. That was it. If you went to another town, you went to a bar or something like that, you might meet somebody, but your pool was restricted.
Yes.
And I remember one of my close friends at the time, one of my close friends said, and we were in our 20s, he was like, I was like, man, why are you so worried about just settling down? Ain't nothing wrong with just settling down. He's like, I'm waiting for that last bus. I was like, the last bus. Yeah, the last bus of all the women that want just me. And that's a real mentality that men will have, right? And now that
Mhm.
last bus is not restricted to just that area, right? It's the entire world.
Yeah.
So it's tough for people. This is a generalized conversation. I'm not making it solely on men. It's men and women. It's tough for people
Yeah.
to settle down because they have so many options. You live in here in the DC area, your options are horrible, but you have so
Atlanta's
many
not
different
better.
what but it's a major metropolitan area, right? So
Yeah.
like there's so many people concentrated in this little area that looks sprawling to us, but it really isn't. It's a small area, right? But there's
Mm-hmm.
so many people in this area to choose from. We didn't grow up in New York City, which is the closest thing that you, right? Like New York City, you had the subway. So that was New York City has always been what the world is now. And huge pool of people that you can choose from to be your mate. You had
Mm-hmm.
different boroughs. Now social media has made it, and by and large, these dating apps, right, have made it where you can just and swipe, scroll and swipe, and you have so many options. This girl one time cussed me out. I was supposed to go out on a date with her. I met her on a dating site, right? I
Mm-hmm.
met her on a dating site. I told her before our date, hey, I'm going to have to cancel the date. I'm not going to be able to talk to you in that way because I've started seeing somebody and we're going to try to be exclusive. She was furious at me. She was like, how are you going to be on a dating site and dating somebody? I was like, well, we weren't committed to each other. We weren't exclusive. And it was a dating site. That's the whole purpose,
And
is to go on dates with
on date.
people. Like you date people until you decide, oh, I don't want to date anybody else. I just want to date this one person. Um,
Yeah. That's how
so
dating works.
how dating works. So she legitimately got mad at me. But social media and dating, I think, can also attribute to the fact that these men don't want to settle down. Why would they want to settle down with one woman when they can have as many women in their head that they could possibly get? Like a lot of them don't
Well,
have a lot of options, but to some have a lot of options.
yeah. So that's not actually what the research is suggesting, though. They're saying that men are lonely, they are sexually dormant, they are friendless, they are and a lot of what you're seeing on the dating apps, 62% of the users on dating apps are men. So it's women, it's a buyer's market for women.
Yeah, yeah.
There is not as many women. It's a sausage fest on these dating sites, okay?
Well, you know what? I think that
and and
correlates.
and the and I'll make another point. The dark side of social media, the rise of these incel podcasts out
Yeah,
here telling men,
the Andrew Tates,
you know, yes, the Andrew Tates and the what was it,
Kevin Samuel.
Kevin
May he
Samuels,
rest in peace. He passed away.
R.I.P.
I mean, the man died. Like he wasn't the devil. He was just doing the devil's work.
I mean, that doesn't negate the harm that he did in life. I just I don't agree that just because somebody died, sometimes that we have to venerate them. Like that don't make no
I
damn
agree
sense.
with that. I agree with that. I
And
agree
I'm
with that.
sorry, none of us are gonna make it out of here alive. Why do people get surprised by death? We are all headed to the upper, well, not everybody
Well,
headed to
not
the
all
upper
of us
room,
heading to the upper
but
room. Not
none of
all of
us
us.
are gonna make it off this planet alive. Okay, so
Okay.
let's relax.
Let's get
Um,
back to the incels.
but but what you're seeing in the dark side of social media is like the indoctrination of these young men into this kind of incel ideology and into this really harmful and toxic ideology that and that's also part of what's keeping them from making meaningful connections with women and what's keeping them lonely and keeping them dormant is you're not an incel because women won't date you. Women won't date you because of your personality. And you have made yourself involuntarily celibate. That's not, you
Hey,
did
look.
that to you.
Hey, look, fellas. I don't know what the hell y'all on. I ain't. Wait a minute. I have made myself involuntarily celibate, but that was because I didn't want to hurt nobody's feeling because I wasn't emotionally available. I've grown, I'm matured. But these young cats, I wasn't that way when I was
But
18
that was
to 29.
voluntary. That
Yeah, no,
wasn't
yeah.
involuntary. Yeah,
No,
that
so
was
you're saying
voluntary.
these cats is involuntary because
Yes, because
it's
their
involuntary,
personalities are bad.
voluntary? Okay. Well,
It's involuntary because they want to be in relationships. They want women and they can't get them. And they think the problem is with the women. No, the problem is your personality, sir. You're crazy. And so don't nobody want to mess with you. And that's why involuntarily you are celibate. That is why you have become an incel. Because of you. It's your fault. It's always been, it's not me, it's you.
all right, I want to get more on this incel thing because I think it ties into what I was going to say about porn.
Mm.
The article talked about how a lot of men now aren't dating because they're satisfying themselves because porn is readily available. Now,
Mhm.
I ain't gonna get real specific because you're my sister, and that's still that dynamic. No matter how close we were, I don't want to talk about that type of stuff
Also,
around you.
I mean, our mama listens to this.
Well, yeah. Well, look, mom and dad can't say nothing, right? Because they knew each other for a short period of time before I was on the way. So as far as I'm
Right.
concerned, they can't say nothing, not a daggone thing. And if
Not
this was
not a near nutter.
not a near nutter, and if you don't, once again, if you don't get that joke, just watch how high. It's hilarious. Porn, right? Like I was talking to a friend of mine. She's gonna watch this. She's gonna know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm talking about you, but I'm not putting your name out there, right? So
Mhm.
I'm not putting your name out there. But it was an interesting conversation that I had with her, and she was dating a guy, and the guy couldn't climax. No matter what she did, he couldn't climax. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, I've heard of this before. He watched too much porn. And I talked to another female friend of mine who said she dated a guy who was like straight up addicted to porn and like their sex life was non-existent. And I was like, yeah,
Mhm.
she was like, because he was masturbating all the time, watching porn like all day long. And I was like, yeah, that'll do it.
Mhm.
And then
That'll
I
do it.
saw, yeah, that'll do it. And then I saw an interview with a porn star. Oh, oh, uh, Bella Danger, I think it was on it was Instagram
Great.
and it led to YouTube. She's a popular uh porn star. Actually goes, I think she goes to the University of Miami now. Um anyway, and she was saying that guys want what the women do in the porn movies, and that's absolutely unrealistic.
Yeah.
Right? Because they are performers. And don't get me wrong, some women will do that stuff, but the average, like most women ain't like, come
Yeah.
on. This younger generation, because women in the younger generation are watching porn like men are, they're picking up, like you have these songs the young kids are singing now, eat the booty like groceries. Excuse me.
Mhm.
Back in my
Mhm.
day, you go back, you watch a Sopranos episode, and they were joking on a dude for going down on a woman, saying that, oh, you can only do that like on her birthday or something like that. And now kids just
Mhm.
talk about eating booty. This is, hey, wait a minute now. What are we talking about now?
It's
It's
new.
because of porn. I don't think porn is a bad thing. I think too much porn, just like anything, is a bad thing. I think liquor is a good thing. I'm having a drink right now as we speak. I don't think it's a
Yeah.
bad thing. I think something in excess, anything in excess is a bad thing.
And I think also not forgetting that it's fantasy is a bad thing.
Right.
And expecting it, the one of the scariest things I saw, a gentleman was stalking and harassing a female coworker. Her dad got involved and I guess threatened to beat his ass. So he called the cops on the dad. Okay. Now, this is after he followed this woman in his car, like all the way to her home, so she called her dad, obviously. And one of the scariest parts about when the police were interviewing him, who of course, obviously they sided with the father. Yeah, if you're following somebody's daughter, yeah, their dad is gone. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Um, one of the scariest things he said is, well, women like this. They like being chased. They like rape fantasies. The women like this kind of thing. No, that definitely came from porn. And that's definitely not something that women like to do. It's this idea of forgetting that this is a fantasy.
Well,
it's just like going to a strip club. You're not about to go home with baby girl. It's a fantasy. She's there to make her money.
Sometimes.
And even saying sometimes, I mean, it's literally 1%, if that, of the time. And it is, you are balling. And she feels like more money could be had if I leave the club with this person right now. Okay, 9 times out of 10, either that or she's dumb. Because she's there to make money.
It could just be the guy is just handsome and got great personality.
No, because every woman that dances knows eventually that guy's gonna have a problem with her dancing, and it's gonna be a whole thing. And don't nobody know. I'm here to make my money. This is a fantasy. I don't really want you. I want what's in your wallet.
Right.
So,
well, I once again, I think that's generational, right? Because this article is specifically talking. This article brings up porn, and it's specifically talking about the 18 to 29-year-olds. And like I said, I'm in my early 40s, and I have grown up during the rise of porn, but the
accessibility of it.
They had the accessibility of it way younger than I. Look, I remember. Am I going to tell this story? I brought it up. Might as well tell it. I remember a friend of mine. We were in high school. We snuck. There was video stores. There was. Okay, this is back in the day when there was actually video stores, and this is back in the day before Blockbuster bought all the video stores, Blockbuster and Hollywood Video, and they still had mom and pop video stores that had the XXX rated movies that was in the back behind that beaded curtain.
Yeah.
I looked older than what I was. So I went back behind that curtain, grabbed the tape. Me and my boy traded off on who had the tape for the amount of days that we got it. But I was 17 years old, right?
Yeah.
Like before that, I had seen videotapes of porn, but I still didn't see my first videotape of porn until I was 14, 15 years old. And by that time, I know, just because I'm in my puberty stage, I'm in either middle school or high school, I know life ain't like this, right? I know this.
Yeah.
But now kids, if they get a cell phone, and some of these kids are getting cell phones in elementary school, they have a cell phone and their parents don't know how to block certain things. These kids can see porn. Hardcore porn, and before they seen their first real life boobie, that they can remember, right? Because they seen their boobies before, they seen their mama's boobies, but that don't count.
That don't count.
Before they see their real life boobie, they're watching hardcore pornography. That distorts your mind because you don't have anything in real life to compare it to. So you think that's what it is. I've been saying it. I've been beating this drum for years. The reason why we're seeing a rise in the sexual assault numbers, yes, more women are coming forward. That is absolutely true. Also, men now are distorted in what is actually consensual. Because they don't realize that what they're seeing is a fantasy. For some, I don't understand how they can't realize there's a fantasy when they watch action movies and realize that the dude ain't dodging bullets right and left. But then again, maybe they don't. Maybe they can't. There's a disconnect there. But
I think it's, porn is real there in the sense that these are two people who are actually having sex.
Yes. Well, I've been on a porn set before.
I did not know that.
No, well, a lot of people
knew every day.
I've been on a porn set before. I've been on a porn set when I was in my mid-20s. I had watched porn movies. What I saw on that set and what I see in the finished product, I was like, "Oh, this is a movie.
This is a production."
Yeah,
it's a production.
Yes,
yeah.
I was like,
they're getting the lighting right. It's choreographed. It's a production.
You think it's continuous, and it's like, no, oh, this is edited to make it look. You know this as a videographer, right? And as a film person, you know that you could take different clips and cut them all together where it's smooth and it doesn't look like there's any cuts.
Yeah, but when
That's
that
what
camera
porn is.
angle changes,
well, I mean, there was a cut there. Yeah, there was. It's not one long continuous shot. That's not how porn is. I feel like if kids are, you know what? This should be a learning experience. If I ever have kids, this is what I'm going to do. If I find out my son or daughter sitting out there watching porn, I'm be like, okay, since you watching porn, I'm going to show you how unreal this is. We're going to go to a porn set. We're going to go to a real live porn set, and you're going to see the production behind it. And once you see how
preemptively calling CPS.
No, once you see how the hot dog is made, you ain't going to want that hot dog anymore.
It's sausage.
Well, sausage, hot dogs too. Hot dogs made the same way.
They are gross. Yeah,
I mean, the hot dogs,
and I will
they're
never
deliciously gross.
Hot dogs, but they're gross. Yeah, I mean, it is this, and then you have to also look at who is porn for. It's for the male gaze. The power dynamic is usually male centric, and who doesn't want to feel powerful and dominant over another person, especially if you're in a society that tells you that a man, an alpha man, a high value man, he's dominant. He runs his house. Like especially if you're in a society that propagates that kind of ideology, and you're not understanding that every time that camera angle moves, that was a cut. And this is a highly choreographed. This is not just somebody looking through the window at two people having sex and showing it to you.
Which is creepy in its own right.
It is,
but you made a point about something, and this idea of an alpha male. I've always been like, that's not a thing.
It's not.
Men love to say, men and women love to say I'm an alpha or A-type personality. That's another code word for
female and all that. These are not things.
Let me explain something to everybody out there. You can be both an alpha and a beta at the same damn time. It depends on the scenario. Because all these alpha males is like, you remember in Hitch, where the guy that eventually plays in Burn Notice, he's the one that was trying to have sex with that girl and Hitch wouldn't work with him.
I don't remember that movie that well.
Okay, well, there's a scene where he grabs Hitch's arm and he's like, you see that? And he's holding it in place. You see that? That's who I am. Power suit. Power tie, power. And then Hitch does a little flip, busts his head down on the table. And it's like, you may think in certain situations you had that power, and maybe you do have that power, but in every situation out there, there's a counter to that where you can straight be a beta. Let me tell you something. A lot of these alpha males out here think they're alpha. Go to jail one time. Just go to county. Just go to overnight booking.
Beyond even that. Not just alpha males, but women who also identify as alphas.
Oh.
The implication is this idea of hyper independence, but they be the first ones to be little spoon. Like, knock it off. Y'all the first ones that want to cuddle and be. Everybody wants to have someone take care or love on and spoil them a little bit. Like, this idea that you have to be hyper independent, it really is, you're denying the part of yourself that also likes to be taken care of.
Which leads us to men being emotionally unavailable, and that being the third thing that this article brought up. And I think there's some truth in that, and then there's some lies in that. Let me give you an example. So it's true, men aren't the greatest at expressing their emotions. People joke with me all the time. They say, "Oh, you're a Cancer, so you're real sensitive." I'm like, not really. Like, I'm kind of sensitive. How sensitive as hell? Like, somebody can say something to me and my feelings are hurt. Like that. I'm not that type of sensitive. When was the last time somebody said something to me and my feelings was hurt?
First, you got good friends who will say one wrong thing and you be like, nope, you know what? Emotional cutoff.
Hold on. time out. I do emotional cutoff. I do distance myself from people,
Yes,
but that's
that is
because
being
I get
sensitive.
annoyed, not because they hurt my feelings.
No,
That's not the same thing. Being annoyed and being like, I don't want to deal with this right now. And
you are
being my feelings hurt.
identifying it as being annoyed, but truly you are upset because you had an expectation of this person that they didn't meet.
Yeah, okay, all right. Okay. I don't think that's sensitive though.
You're hurt.
Okay.
And your response to it is to cut off emotionally.
Yeah, okay. Yes, that's what I do. And I'm cool with that life. That's the way I've been living for my 40 plus years, and that's the way I'm gonna live.
Yeah.
Emotional cutoff. But anyway, but this is what I've learned.
Mhm.
And this is just my experiences. I can't speak for the general population, and I know you don't agree with me on this. Women will say to me, I want you to open up. I want you to tell me about your day. I want you to tell me about how you're feeling and this and that. I'm like, I ain't the greatest at sharing that type of stuff. I'll give you peripheral,
Mhm.
but I ain't gonna give you the deep down inside stuff that's not really how I'm
Yeah.
made up. It's like, well, I want you to try. All right, I'll try.
Mhm.
But when you do those type of things, and I've heard other men talk about it, when you do those type of things, and my best friend is a female. She does not like, she wants a man's man, kind of like that old
Mhm.
school. But then gets upset at the same time when he doesn't open up emotionally. I'm like, you can't have both. Like that's not a thing. You can't have both. Either you want him to have that balance, or you want him to
Mhm.
be one way or the other. But even if you get that balance, you do realize that there are going to be some times in your head he's not that masculine male that you're projecting, because he's
Mhm.
letting down his guard and he's being emotional. And then when that man lets down his guard and is emotional, and that woman turns it back on him, you might as well forget it. He is never going to be
Yeah.
emotional like that again. He's going to be cold, and he probably not going to open up again. I'm not saying that from experience, but I will tell you that a girl did that to me back in 2002.
Oh, you remember the exact? Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I don't know what
it may
about
have
that.
been November 17th, 2002. It may have been November 17th,
Damn.
right before Thanksgiving.
Right before Thanksgiving. Yeah, I hear it. So I don't know what about that I would disagree with. I actually agree with that. Because there are women who are just as bound up in toxic masculinity and the patriarchy as men. There are some women who are like, I just want my man to be able to build a fence and mow the lawn, and that's all a man should do. I take care of the home. That's completely fine. Here's the thing. There's nothing wrong
With
with
one, what you
believing
want.
in traditional gender roles.
Mhm.
Just find another person who believes in traditional gender roles.
Right.
Find someone else whose value system aligns with yours. It's
Yep.
when people whose value systems don't align try to get together.
Well,
Somebody who wants a traditional type of relationship, someone else who wants the more modern idea of a relationship where we're talking more about equity than we are about both of us falling into specific roles based on the arbitrariness of our genitalia. Like it's when that happens that you find this not just emotional disconnection, but the social disconnection as well.
yeah.
Um,
Sorry,
so
Bestie, that
no,
I
I
threw you under the
absolutely,
bus.
huh?
I know she's going to listen to this. Sorry, Bestie. I didn't throw you under the bus. You just like a certain man. That's all. You like what you
Yeah,
like.
it's not throwing nobody under the bus. This is the thing. There's nothing wrong with wanting those traditional. The point is that you should be able to have options.
Yes.
If that's
And
not
there's
what you
plenty of
want,
options today. Case in point,
yeah,
social media and dating sites. And these women, another thing, we'll go ahead, finish your thought because I cut you off.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Um, it's just when two people whose value systems don't align are
Mhm.
trying to change each other. And we had this conversation a while ago when we talked about the passport bros and what they're looking for, right? They want Miss Shirley's personality, Miss Shirley down to church. They want her personality in a package of Megan Thee Stallion. And baby, you're not gonna find that.
Well,
They
Meg,
think they can.
I think Meg is that. I think they're trying to find Meg Thee Stallion. I think she is.
She got a man. She's
Huh?
fine. She got a man. She's fine.
Well, there's
She
another
ain't.
one like her.
They think that. But
Cardi
there's
is
only
like
one
that.
Megan Thee Stallion. Yeah,
Well,
and also she is married. So it's like
mhm.
they already got. Let me tell you something. You find if you find somebody like that, they're already wifed up. There's
Yeah.
no stragglers that haven't been picked up. They've already been wifed up. Gabrielle Union, all of them, they already been wifed up. They're done.
Yeah.
You're not gonna find another Savannah James, okay?
Nope, you're not.
LeBron
Well,
already he locked
Le-
that down.
LeBron locked that down from high school. It was like, look,
Yes.
I don't know what's gonna go on, but you're gonna be my queen. I know that
Yes.
for sure. You're gonna be the mother of
Done.
my kids and my forever queen. We're gonna be
Yes.
side by side to the day that the one of us die.
And that's that. Okay, they done. They've
That's
been
what I'm
picked
looking
up
for.
already.
That's what I'm looking. Hey, look, if it's any more Meg Thee Stallions out there, come holler at you.
They already in a relationship.
Well, maybe
They
they didn't know that I was single, and come holler at your boy. I am single because I do not have a girlfriend.
Not only that, if they don't got a man, they got a woman.
That was the other
Because
thing the
that's
article talked
another
about. Yeah.
another thing.
Well,
I think it said 1 in 5 Gen Z identify as queer, and most of those are made up of bisexual women. Women are dating other women. They're like, you know what? I actually am good with my bestie.
Well, hold on.
So,
Let's not put that on the standpoint of this is something new. It's not new. It's just something that people are more comfortable being their true selves and not forcing themselves into something that's traditional. We have somebody who's one of my favorite people in the world, who is gay.
Mhm.
And I talk to her all the time. Well,
Mhm.
no, that's not true. I don't talk to her all the time. Anytime I talk to her, I tell her how much she means to me because she's one of my role models.
Yeah.
She was an openly gay Black woman in Tennessee in the 90s, climbing the corporate ladder. To me, she is one of the baddest people I've ever met in my entire life, and I hold her in such high esteem. And I said, well, when did you know that you were gay? And she was like, I always knew. I knew when I was a little kid and I was sitting in the back of the family station wagon as we were leaving the beach looking at the girls. But I was like, but you still dated guys and stuff like that because that's what I was supposed to do during that time. And eventually, I guess I never asked her when she did, but I know it was in her college years because I was hanging out with her and she had a female friend, and I knew at a very young age. I was like,
Yeah, I always knew.
Right.
It wasn't.
And so
by the time we came around, it wasn't that hard to figure out.
well, I don't think she had come out yet. I don't think she had officially come out yet.
Homegirl rocked cowboy boots and drove a pickup truck and had a 1-bedroom apartment with another woman. We knew.
Well, we knew because we ain't dumb. We knew.
I knew.
But one of her parents didn't know.
Which I find ridiculous.
Yeah. So, but I don't think this is some people of our generation, some people who think a certain way from our generation will say, oh, these kids don't know what they're doing. They're confused. They're not confused. They're free to be.
They're free.
They're free to be me. Right.
Yeah.
Like I don't. Yeah. I don't mean like me particularly, but they're free to be them. Like they're free to be who they are because
operative pronoun them.
Yeah. Well, that's if they're trans. I had a conversation
but just the fact that we're not specifying a gender.
Okay, you're right.
And immediately we say that.
This is all
perfect. It's perfect.
I'm still learning. No,
it's perfect.
Learning. Yeah.
You were correct.
I said them? Oh, yeah. I did it without. I'm getting better. I did it without even. I thought I messed up.
Exactly. It's not that damn hard.
If you condition yourself and you really try to learn, but I have some people that are my age, especially Black males my age. I've never understood. Well, I have. there was a time in my life where I was homophobic
Mm-hmm.
when I was young. I was taught that it's a scary thing until I actually worked with gay men. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized, I don't know why heterosexual men are afraid of gay men, thinking that every gay man wants them. Some of them will find you attractive, and some of them will hit on you. I absolutely been hit on.
I already told you why. I told you why. I think I said it while on another show, and it is because straight men are worried that they'll be treated the way that they treat women.
Oh, hmm. Hmm.
No one wants to be objectified. No one wants to be harassed sexually.
You know how there's this new thing where women on TikTok are trying to expose men looking at them in the gym. And don't get me wrong, there are absolutely situations where men are staring at women in the gym. And let me just say, if you're wearing those special leggings that create the crease in your ass
And
crack,
we all know what those leggings are.
like,
yes. Are they the most comfortable leggings of all time? Yes.
are
But we
they?
all
I don't
know
understand why giving yourself a wedgie is the most comfortable.
it's not. It's just they conform to your body. They're very comfortable to wear.
Okay, all right. But wearing them and it's all the way up your crack and the ass is looking splendid. That's not a word, but it's stupendous and splendid. It's looking fantastic.
It sounded like it was stupendous and splendid at once.
Yeah, that's my speech impediment come out. We can let it go.
Yeah.
But I'm going to stare. And I might yell out, God damn. I might just yell out and it's just involuntary because I did it in the gym literally today. There was this young woman. She looked like a woman that I had a crush on 20 years ago. She looks like the way that woman looked 20 years ago today. She's been saying hello to me. And in my mind, that means, oh, you must want a brother. That's not the case. She's just probably being friendly. Also, she could want a brother. But in my head,
in
my head, I mean, it is possible. I mean, I am me. But I need to stop saying this stuff on the air. I need to stop. But she didn't catch me, but she walked past me. She's like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "I'm doing good today." And she kept on walking, and I yelled, "God damn!" I didn't really yell it. I said it in that tone. But yeah, she looked good. So it actually happens. But I've also been objectified in the gym where I've seen women straight staring at me, and I look up because there's a mirror in front of me, and I look up and I see them staring at me, and I'm just like, I'm just trying to get my workout on. So
I'm trying to get my workout on.
I get where women are coming from, but I'm not about to expose them. That's neither here nor there. I went off on a tangent. We talking about dating, and basically, men need to stop watching porn. They need to realize that they need to get their personality up and
go to therapy.
Go to therapy. Yeah. It's okay. It's okay to tell people how you feel. Yes, you may get hurt. Yes, you may get rejected. That is literally a part of life. You don't get everything that you want.
Is. Yeah, truly. Sometimes people will not take care of your heart the way you would have taken care of theirs. And that is possible.
Hold on. I won't even go that far. I'll say people won't take care of your heart the way you would take care of your heart. Because there's a lot of people out here that are getting heartbroken. But on the flip side, they've been cheating their ass off. And how do I know this? I was one of those people. But on that note, Jay, it is no longer Black History Month. You've had an entire month to come up with a sign off.
I did.
What are you going to tell the people out there?
Happy Women's Month, y'all.
I knew that's where he was going to go. And on that note, I'll holla. Thank you for listening to Unsolicited Perspectives with Bruce Anthony. Please subscribe, like, comment, share, and donate. Donations help us keep giving you this free content each and every week. Until next time, Audi 5000. Peace.